Hello there, and welcome to Find Your Voice. My name is Joe Crammond, and I'm the host of the show. Today, we have a very special guest, Kerry-Ann she is basically a CMO, JMMB group podcast host, the Eternal Marketing Podcast. Welcome, Kerry. How are you doing?
Hi, Joe. Thanks so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Good stuff. So, whereabouts are you based?
I am in Kingston, Jamaica. Sunny, beautiful
Oh,
Kingston,
lovely.
Jamaica.
Oh, envious of the weather. I'm based in Devon in the UK. The sun's out now, but it's only for about 10 minutes, I think, and then it'll start getting cloudy and raining again.
Well,
So,
we'll be happy to have you in Jamaica, so feel free to visit anytime.
oh, that sounds wonderful. Yeah, that would be great. Okay, then. So, tell us a little bit about yourself, Kerry, and what you do and how you help.
No problem. Well, my day job is that I'm the Chief Marketing Officer or the CMO of JMMB Financial Group. We're a financial group based in the Caribbean. We're headquartered in Jamaica, so we have operations here where I'm based, but we also have operations in Trinidad and Tobago and in the Dominican Republic. So that's my day job. But my personal passion project is actually the Internal Marketing Podcast. So I am the producer and host of my very own podcast for about 2 years now. And my goal in that podcast is to support a conversation around helping businesses to understand how they can both build their brands and drive growth by engaging and empowering employees to become advocates of the company brand. And it's been really a wonderful journey and love it, love it.
Ah, that sounds great. So, okay, well, what we're going to do for our audience benefit, we're going to ask you a few quick fire questions and get to know even more about you. And yeah, when you're ready, we'll get started.
Sure, sure.
Wonderful. Okay, then, Kerry. So, what if you had a business card? What would it say?
Business card would say actually many things, not just one thing, but I would say that I'm a marketer of 20 years. I'm a CMO and I'm an independent podcaster. Those would be the big things. I'm also a wife and mom. I can't forget that because that eats up a big chunk of
That's
my
a job
day.
in itself. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but
Brilliant.
yes, marketer and podcaster and speaker. I would say those were the big things.
Busy lady, juggling many hats there by the sounds of it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so why on paper should you have never been successful?
Wow, I would say on paper, growing up, born and being raised in a developing country, I probably would say that there would be many things that would be stacked against me. Fortunately, I wouldn't say I was poor by any means, not at all. But as a young black girl in a third world country, I guess theoretically the opportunities were perhaps few. So on paper, you could say that that wouldn't have been my journey, but hey, here we are.
You've done fantastically well. It's yeah, exactly. That's interesting. So, if we asked 10 of your old schoolmates about you, then how would they describe you, or how would they have described you?
Well, there's a word in Jamaica that we use called enough, and it means that I am uh, not really ostentatious, but I'm very forward. I will walk up to you and introduce myself and start talking like we've been friends for well over 20 years, right? So I have that kind of personality. I love to engage with people. I'm not really a party person, but what I do love is a great glass of wine, great conversation, but at the same time, there's an introverted side of me that I love enjoying time alone. And so that's me. It's really a balance between extroversion and introversion. I would say I'd call myself an introverted extrovert, and that's
Mhm.
how they would
Right,
perhaps
good one.
describe me as well.
So, has there been much of a transition in your personality over the years, or have you always been pretty much like that since school?
I would say there has been a transition. I'd say I was perhaps more extroverted when I was younger.
Okay.
Perhaps, you're going through life as a kid and as a teenager, you probably didn't have many concerns about what life had to be about, so you would just kind of move through. But as I've gotten older, more mature, I've become more introspective, I think. And
Hmm.
so the introverted side I find has come out far much more. So I've found energy from being alone, reading, watching, or listening to great podcasts like this one. And so I would say the introversion has come out a bit more over the years.
That's fair enough. Well, if we're writing a movie script about your life, then how would the opening scene describe that one? How would it be?
How would this is a wonderful question. Oh my goodness. The opening scene. I would say that the opening scene would be something along the lines of picture a young married couple who just starting on their own, and they've decided to start a family, and they were graced with the likes of a very interesting, precocious little girl, right? And the journey would really be around how do you give this child everything that they need to succeed. Uh,
Mm.
Bearing in mind that as parents, they would have come from poor rural backgrounds. Here is a girl that they were graced with the opportunity to parent, and how that little girl evolved over time, I think, would be the setting for an interesting movie on my own life. Hopefully, it will
There
be
you
found
go.
interesting.
Well, if there's any directors listening to this or script writers, that sounds like it could be a great story. That one, definitely. So when was the last time you did something that scared you?
I feel like I do something that scares me almost every time I choose to post something on social media. Can I just be frank? I find
Okay.
that scary. I mean, we'd probably get into this, but when I decided to become a podcaster, to put my voice out there, or certainly to engage with wonderful subject matter experts around the whole matter of internal marketing. And I also decided to start using my voice on social media because I was a lurker for many years. I struggled with imposter syndrome. And in as much as I was able to overcome that, launch the podcast, and establish a presence on a great platform like LinkedIn, which is where I do most of my posting, it scares me still every single time. Am I adding value? Will my content be well received? Will people judge me for what I'm sharing? And so, yeah, I would say that scares me still a little bit every single time.
Yeah, no, that's a pretty common thing as well. I think that's why a lot of people shy away from the video content side of doing stuff on social media because they're worried about what people might think of how they look or what they say, and a lot of it's our own insecurities because most people
Yes,
aren't going to judge you. They just want to listen, and a lot of the times, it's if it stops them scrolling, and you can add a bit of value to their lives, then great, And people hide away, and it's an interesting one because I mean I'm
absolutely.
fairly confident. I never used to be, but even today, even to this day, I still think, oh, what are people going to think? Am I going to like fumble? And I like, for example, introducing you, I had a bit of an issue with the screen for a minute, and it's little things like that. It's the
Yes,
nuances of going live and actually getting yourself out there is frightening for a lot of people. So I completely see where you're coming from on that one, definitely.
indeed, indeed.
So when it comes to advice, then, so what do people seek you out for?
So what people really seek me out for actually is two things. One, as a marketer, first and foremost. I mean, you have the opportunity to speak to business owners. I find in particular small business owners who are either just starting out or would have been in business for a couple of years and really want to refine their branding strategy, their revenue growth strategy. They would seek me out for that. For the obvious expertise of it, I guess. But I'm also sought out by other women who are not at the C suite level or the executive level in business or in corporations, but they see me as someone who could perhaps provide advice and guidance. And that's been interesting. And I travel quite a bit to speak at conferences and summits. And I guess, again, as a minority woman, Black woman, and also I'm not American, I'm not British. And so they hear an obvious accent, the Jamaican accent. I get approached by women who are also minorities, but they also come from, again, an international background, not a first world, a traditional first world background. And they're like, oh my goodness, could you mentor me? Because they were always told, hey, you have to sit in the back, or there's something wrong with your accent. People are not going to understand
Mm,
you. And so they reach out literally to understand, how do I overcome things like imposter syndrome? Where do
mm,
I build my expertise? And how do I just get the courage to get on a stage and give a talk about a topic that
mm.
I'm passionate about or I'm an expert in? And that's been an interesting part of my journey, actually.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It must be very rewarding to help those ladies be able to gain the confidence to start doing that stuff. They look at you as being somebody of authority and yeah, someone who can guide them. That's really good. So what technology wise is making you nervous at the moment? Is there anything that you think currently is making you think, oh, I'm not sure about that?
Well, that's interesting. I wouldn't say there's a technology that's making me nervous, but I am curious and watching it very closely. And it's the whole evolution of AI, particularly Chat GPT, I think is on everybody's lips right now. And as a marketer, of course, and as a content creator myself through podcasting and, of course, my day job, it's just interesting to see the conversation around Chat GPT and all the other AI platforms that are really making content creation easier. But
Mm,
also, the conversation has been now delving into, well, are we taking away authenticity from how we create content? Are we taking away integrity? Because the schools are having trouble with, okay, do we know when the students are actually doing the homework or not? But even for content creators, is this really their work? Can they claim it? Can authors now just write entire books with Chat GPT and say, hey, this is mine and it's not theirs? So that's what's really driving my curiosity at the moment, and maybe has me a little bit concerned, but it's going to be interesting to see how this continues to evolve over time.
no, definitely it will be. So when it comes to Chat GPT, then you mentioned it. So a $10,000 bet, what can you confidently do better? So what would you be sort of yeah, what would be your skill that you can provide that's better than that?
What I think I could provide better is just the whole matter around audience analysis, right? So, of course, I'm a marketer, but I'm also a strategic communicator as well. And I think one of the important parts of being able to communicate effectively is a deep understanding of your audience. And when we talk about audience analysis, it's digging really into who your audience is, and not just from a demographic perspective, but understanding their fears, their hopes, their dreams, their concerns, understanding their depth of knowledge of the topic that you want to share with them, understanding their language, strengths in terms of, well, how do they speak, or how do they best understand language? Who is the best source or messenger to share this bit of communication with them? And so I think that's a skill that I could bring better than AI, because if you don't understand who your audience is on a very deep level, then your communication will fall flat.
The emotional pain points as such, I guess, as well. Yeah, definitely.
Especially, indeed.
Okay, that's really interesting. So when it comes to weaknesses, then, is there anything that you're working on to improve right now?
Oh, wow. So many things. What I'm really working on is just from a technical standpoint, I believe is just being able to be, I would say, just a better communicator in terms of my speaking. So, being a podcast, I'm more of a host. I'm less so the guest, or I'm more so interviewing guests, pretty much like what you're doing right now. And so I'm trying to get more comfortable being on the other side of the
Mm,
microphone, as it were, just being more comfortable speaking with people like you and having great conversations like this from my perspective. So, I wouldn't say that speaking has been a fulsome weakness because I've been doing it for so many years, but it's just the vantage point and how I'm sharing messages from my perspective, I
yeah, of course.
suppose.
It's
Yeah.
like being in the passenger seat is very different than having the being in the driving one, isn't it? It's
Indeed.
yeah, the pressure's on. Okay,
Indeed.
so your 20-year-old self is watching right now. What would you advise them?
Wow. What would I advise them? I would have advised them to read more.
Sorry, yeah.
Read more, as simple as it sounds. I think, well, certainly at 20, I would have been in university. Yes, doing my coursework there, but also having a great time socially, which I guess is what all college age kids do. But I think if I'd taken the opportunity to read more widely, and just really to broaden my base of understanding of so many different things, I think I would probably have been in a better place sooner than I am now. So that would be my encouragement.
Oh, that's good advice. Are you definitely a reader and not an audio book lady? Are you sort of because I'm more audible. I love listening to audiobooks. So you,
I am more a reader. Yeah. On the book side, I'm more a reader. I mean, I love listening to podcasts and especially conversations like this. I love to hear the engagement. But I'm more of a visual reader kind of person. Yeah.
good. Cool. Okay. So the final question then. So what 3 words would you want written on your epitaph? So to be remembered by.
Ooh, wow. These questions are wonderful. So, 3 words for me would be uh, frank. I kind of just speak my mind usually. Easily distracted. Now, that's 2 words, but
Yeah,
I'll still group them as one. And and sociable. Yeah.
it's like wonderful.
Hmm.
Well, it's been a pleasure, Kerry. It really has. And where do we find more information out about you for our audience?
Sure. Well, I am on LinkedIn. It's Kerry-Ann Stimpson right there on the screen. I'm on LinkedIn. I love sharing content, usually around all things marketing, internal marketing, and employee advocacy in particular. But I also encourage your audience to listen to my podcast, the Internal Marketing Podcast. That's where I can be found as well. If you Google it, you'll find it. It's anywhere podcasts live. And I'd love to have anyone come and join the conversation about internal marketing.
That's great. Yeah, and I'll be definitely tuning into that one. So it's been an absolute pleasure today. And just for our audience, if you do want to build out a thought leadership profile and get yourself out on podcasts as a guest, visit us at podcastguesting.pro and we'll look forward to hearing from you. Kerry-Ann, it's been absolutely wonderful and good luck with everything. And thanks very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Joe.
No problem. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.